Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe. Hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live, and there's also a PayPal, Patreon and crypto link in the info box below the video. Also below this video, you can get £50 for swapping your UK electricity supplier to Octopus Energy, and this is of particular note if you drive an electric vehicle. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcomed back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel, so please share the show on Facebook and Twitter. Now we are joined by Neil, 10th Man, Brian's Logic, Refracted Curvature, and a whole bunch of people in Discord, so welcome one and all.
Hello.
Hey, good morning.
We're all doing good. We've also got Adam Meakin with us as well. Good morning, Adam. Good afternoon.
Afternoon, everyone.
Afternoon.
Hello, Adam.
Hi, guys. You right?
Hello.
Very well. Good to have you all. Nice that we've had a word from Discord as well. Did we want to rattle through housekeeping, or as the mood is on that particular vibe, should we continue?
Let's go through. Well, it's up to you. It's up to you. Adam's here now. Adam, I kind of prepped him a little bit.
On last night's bedtime stories.
Yeah, the Polonium Chronicles, chapter 1 was very interesting.
Okay, so the guys, Adam and 10th, have been discussing spherical triangles. And based on what they've been discussing yesterday, I think they've got a bit of a presentation. We had a bit of a teaser in the pre-show. But if you're happy for me to have now led you into that discussion, Adam, with a little tiny 30-second warm-up. Not much when you've just got here, but are you happy to carry straight on with that? I'll do housekeeping if you're not.
Yeah, by all means. Have you got some slides, Tim, from last night?
I'm gonna share my screen with the air navigation book that we went through. Okay.
I think it's best if you go through what you went through with me, because me and Tim saw very different things. Two different things that we'll just share. And
all right, let me see how I do this. I'll be back. Tell me when it's up.
Yeah. I say we see different things. Well, I saw something jumped out at me, and something jumped out at Temp, and there were different bits. But again, we're using the air almanac, the air. You know those 3 black books that you had stacked up on top of Bowditch. Is it those ones, Temps? Isn't it? I think it's the proper air navigation books. So they're quite a.
No, it's the Air Force one on. Hey, Arvin. Nathan, it says here this will let you take over Nathan Oakley 1980
that's fine.
as the main person.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
This is all. Like if I go back just before you start at the diagram, the third last one you posted, where it shows an actual triangle, and then it kind of projected onto the surface of a globe. This is all great circle roots and Harvard sign formula nonsense.
Correct.
That's what they're bringing in here.
Yeah, that's the least of our problems. We're about to demolish them here. I just showed that because I wanted to make a contrast between what they say a triangle is on the Earth versus what this. Does everyone see this book here, Air Navigation?
Yes.
This is an original. I have volume 1 and volume 2. This is an online version of it, so I don't have to worry about my book here. But it's the same book here. Let me hide that. Let's go right to the area. And I've shown this slide before. The bubble sextant here has to have the bubble horizon, and that's your plane of reference, your baseline, as you can see here. Is my cursor being shown as well?
Yeah.
Oh, lovely. Okay. And then they say the equator, and they take it out to the celestial equator as well and call it the plane of the celestial horizon, which coincides with the Earth's equator on their model. Okay, none of this is true, but anyway, let's go on. So when you're in an airplane and you're using a bubble sextant, you're basically saying my baseline is this flat, straight, horizontal, and you get this angle, okay? And you can be 30,000 feet in the air, and it matches what's below you, the Earth. And what's below you, the Earth in this picture? This round thing. Except that's not what you're matching it to. You're matching it to this thing, which is flat as well. I mean, do you see the nonsense here? All right. So we go through this book. It talks about altitude of the body and, sextant altitude, blah, blah, blah. Okay. The angle between the rays. But now when we get to right here, observed altitude, because that's the key. So you got, you think you know where you are, and you say, I think I'm over here because of dead reckoning. And then you take a sighting and it shows a different number. And you do the intercept method, and you find out exactly where you are based on your observed altitude. So there is a definite relationship between height observed of a body and the distance of the observer from the subpoint. Now, the subpoint is the GP of the star or sun, okay? That's all subpoint is. When the body is directly overhead, the height observed is 90. Of course, when it's directly over your head, it's going to be 90 degrees, your zenith. And the subpoint and the observer's position are identical. Okay, 2 GPs altogether nicely. When the height observed is 0, now when do you observe a 0 height with a sextant? When it's on the horizon. Am I right, everybody?
Yeah, baseline.
Yes.
Okay, yeah. So when the height observed is 0 degrees, the body is on the horizon and the subpoint is 90, translates 54 nautical miles. Adam went bananas here. I'll let him take over in a minute. From the observer's position, the relationship is shown in figure 1124. Let's scroll down to 1124. Here's 1124. Here's A and B, your plane. Here is COX and COS. What's COS? What's this? This is your luminary. And this is the subpoint of the luminary. And you see how I can't work on the globe? A sextant can't work on the globe. So we're going to come back to this picture. All right, but let's go back here and keep reading. The relationship is shown in figure 1124, where C is the center of the Earth. Let's see if we can keep them both together. C is the center of the Earth. AB is the observer's horizon. Hold on 1 second, boys. This better for everybody. Is this better? Since the sum, and the S is the subpoint of the body, since the sum of the angles in a triangle must equal what?
180.
This is a navigation book. This is telling you how to do sightings with a sextant. Since the sum of the angles in a triangle must equal 180, the angle OX is equal to 180. Not 540, not 270, no spherical triangles on the actual navigational process. Height observed plus P, the sum of the angles on a straight line is equal to 180, no duh. So angle OXC is equal to height observed plus P. The horizon AB being tangent to the Earth at O is perpendicular to OC, a radius of the Earth. Thus, angle OCX is equal to 90. I can go on and on, but Adam, I mean, this is what I wanted to show in contrast to the spherical triangle that they keep talking about. But when it comes to a navigation book, it says this, an angle that you're going to measure altitude with can be no more than 180. You're working with a flat baseline on Earth, folks.
The bit I like there, 10th at the end there is we've had to have the ballers make their apologetics, but it's quite clear what it's saying here. Look, the horizon AB, and this is in their world, being a tangent to the Earth at O is perpendicular to OC, a radius of the Earth. So none of this is doable unless you've got R. Okay? You need a defined R to resolve it. You can show the geometric relationships on there, but the distance is R. And to actually resolve it to real distances, you're going to have to input R. R is fundamental to this bastardization of the method. So if you're going to do these things, you have to have R fundamentally. That's something else I picked up rereading it last night. Yeah, it's an open admission that they do use R in all these calculations.
Wow.
Indeed.
So
So Adam,
always.
yeah. Now Adam, I said to him, look at this
I want to hear about this 54 part again.
Yeah,
Yes.
we're coming to, Brian.
and I'll just turn it over to Adam.
If you if you can just scroll down so we can see both the yeah, lovely. So if we read it again, it says when the HO is 0 degrees, the observed body is on the horizon and the subpoint is 90 degrees. 5,400 navigators minutes from the observer's position. And I'd like to refer us to figure 11.24, the bottom figure. And what this tries to do is diagrammatically represent what's happening. But for it to be able to do so, it should be using the correct numbers. But if it was to use the correct numbers that it's just stated, it would make the diagram impossible. In that, 5,400 nautical miles is equivalent to 6,210 statute miles. 6,210 divided by 24,878 is approximately equal to 25% of the circumferential distance of a ball, which is, as you would expect, 90 degrees is therefore 90 degrees of movement. Now, if you look on the diagram O, C to S, this is the supposed representation and the resolution of how you get the same star. But the reality is, look, that the O to C to S at this point is only about 35, 40 degrees. What you've got to do is take it to where Temp's got the little hand to the point. That's your angle of 90 degrees where it's going to resolve the GP of the star. Now, suddenly, it's a lot harder geometrically. In fact, the only place these lines intersect now is out at infinity. And that's what excited me, Brian, that the way they describe it is an impossibility. Now, if you're stood at O and you're seeing something that is supposedly where that hand is at 90 degrees, which invokes 90 degrees of ball Earth rotation, you can't see anything. Look at the obstruction. At no point do you ever get to see anything there. So what they're claiming is you're looking out to infinity, and the only way in which the geometry resolves is for the line O to star and S to star where it should be is not the piece of paper would have to stretch to infinity to resolve the triangle. That's the reality, and that's the admission in there. And if you just apply a bit of common sense, you can see how illogical that claim is.
Quick shout out to Rebecca, who says, I'm learning a lot from each show. Thank you, Nathan. I take full credit for this presentation, Rebecca. Thank you very much for the super chat.
I would too.
It's your house. You make the rules.
Yeah, there you go.
This is
sorry.
20.
I ruined that. I'm just going to summarise Adam's point so I can get back on track and maybe hand over to you, Tenth. So what Adam's saying is, based on the amount of degrees that you have and have a 90 degrees to, I think he said 6,000, that would put you around the corner on a sphere Earth and no longer give you a line of sight to the star that they're claiming has an infinite distance to it. You wouldn't be able to see it anymore based on the amount of land that they're claiming you can have a 90 degree to. So it pushes their model into impossibility when doing this by their own description. Did you want to carry on or hand over to Tenth, Adam?
Yeah, there's only one more little geeky point I kind of wanted to make, and with regards to the implication of this, and I think when we first started on this journey 5-6 years ago, one of the responses is you can't see Polaris from the equator, or Flat Earth claims, yes, you can see Polaris from the equator, from high up observatories. And I think, in my own ignorance, I kind of left that argument there because I'm still working in these times in a real trig world, which is where I'm assuming that the reason I can see Polaris from more than 90 degrees of rotation away is because I'm at a higher altitude. And what we've learned with the sextant is that isn't the case. Your altitude, observer's altitude, is irrelevant to the angle that's rendered. So that then, with that knowledge, adds real credence to what I've just said about 5,400 miles being able to see, and why we are then able to resolve past the equator some images of Polaris. That, I think, coupled with the sextant knowledge about altitude not affecting angle, that adds a little bit more detail to that argument.
It's good. It's not just
Could I
geeky. No, this is great. It's globe debunking. So, no, this is excellent.
It
Could I add
gets
something
better.
quick on to the end of it?
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah,
Just
go
on
ahead.
just on that point, because it's pertinent. Yeah, you can see Polaris up to 2 degrees, let's just say, past the equator. And the reason for that is celestial navigation. And what they did for years is they hijacked celestial navigation and called it 7/6R. When it has nothing to do with 7/6R, it was always celestial navigation. The reason you can see Polaris is due, past the equator line is due to celestial navigation, not 7/6R.
All right. Yeah, very good. So 5,400 nautical miles. So let's go back to the image. This is a right angle. There's your 90 right here. Everyone see this? The line should be right here.
Yes.
Okay, that's 25% of the Earth atom that you're able to see with no curvature blocking something.
All flat.
How can that be possible on the curved Earth?
Completely impossible. I'm sorry. What I just said a second ago, I meant to say celestial refraction, not celestial navigation. Right.
So they would have you believe that when the sun is at the horizon at sunrise, the subpoint of the sun is 5,400 nautical miles, and your sextant can catch. Of course, you have to put the refraction corrections in it because it's below 15 degrees. But once you do all the corrections, they're basically telling you that 5,400 nautical miles is your distance to that sunrise GP, the GP of the sun as it's rising somewhere over the Earth. That would mean that C to here would give you that right angle, that 90, and you're able to see from here over here. What about this? How come this isn't blocking anything? That's 25% of the Earth that doesn't block anything.
But that's the geometric horizon that we were discussing in the pre-show that Ruhif is claiming we now have, even though we've had 2 straight years of this being told that we don't have a geometric horizon. So what are they fighting for? This obstruction that you're asking now why it's not getting in the way? Well, I'll answer you. Because we've debunked that as a physical geometric horizon from a sphere formerly known as Earth curve. The Black Swan debunked that. So when they go back to asserting that they've got a geometric horizon and you say, well, if you did have a geometric horizon, I know that you're pointing this out from their books, but you are sidestepping the Black Swan. You don't need to expect. I'm trying not to undermine what you've just said. I really am, I promise. But Black Swan.
No, go ahead.
Well, Black Swan.
Go ahead.
Black Swan. Don't
No,
need to ask them why their geometric horizon isn't getting in the way when you've got 5,400 nautical miles of flat plane that you can measure 90 degrees to. Well, when you've got that, and they say, well, no, we've got a sphere beneath our feet, to then take that to, well, no, because the sphere edge horizon that you say is beneath our feet would be in the way, given this area of flat land. It's like you shouldn't be into that argument because of the Black Swan. The fact that someone like Ruhif in this example, has stuck his head in the sand for 2 straight years and is now saying it's geometric. It's just laughable.
Well, that's the both sides of the argument. Law of non-contradiction. They live on a flat plane. They know it because the sextant can't work with a curved adjacent.
Exactly. How'd you get this elevation angle in the first place? You're not measuring from the centre of a presupposed spherical Earth with an R value also debunked by the black swan, as Adam pointed out earlier. This necessitates the measurement of that sphere beneath the flat line that you're actually measuring. Well, have you got that? No, that went the way of the dodo too, with the black swan.
The importance mathematically of this is it states that they use R. And like I say, you have to then have R to render, to calculate the angle change, to apply that to the circumference, okay, to tell you where things line up. So if you haven't got R, things won't line up. Do you understand? Yeah, if your R's not exact, things don't work. So you have to know R to use this mathematics, and it would have to be exact for it to render like that. You see, so you can backwork R from it, but you can't get there first and assume this mechanism unless you've got R. So to me, it's another proof that they have to have R if they're going to allow this to be how they justify what's going off in their head. You can pretend you're doing this with all the problems, but you have to accept that you've defined R already.
I agree with Nathan. Black swan, then.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. Black swan, which I'll give a quick rendition of if anybody's unaware. If the Earth was a sphere, as is required in this explanation for tangent planes being used with a sphere Earth beneath a flat plane that's actually measured, then every distance to that geometric horizon depicted on screen now would be 1.2 times the square root of the observer's height in feet. It's not. The imagery we call the black swan shows the horizon beyond the geometric limitations of a sphere with a radius of 3959. Therefore, the horizon is not Earth curve, not geometric. We've had 2 years, Ruhif, of being told how non-geometric it is as a result of the black swan. So to just jump back on the bandwagon of, it's geometric now. No. No. Rufy, hello.
I just want to
go on.
just quickly, James. I just want to state that if they're using a tangent plane, it means they have to pre-assume and use a flat Earth to even attempt to do it on their globe.
Back to the original question. How do you get your elevation angle if you've got a curved adjacent?
Yes. Now, see this image here. See this image here with the bubble sextant. They assume a baseline that's flat, horizontal, because that's what the bubble does. It's a bubble is the artificial horizon. And then they transpose it in this figure that you see here, this picture, to say, see, it's over here. It's from here we're getting it. Really, what they're doing is they're measuring it off of the flat Earth that we live on, the plane that we live on. And in the picture, deceiving people and saying we're getting it from the center of a ball. But even in that, they have to take this image, transpose it here, because you're really getting it from the surface, because no one's here with the sextant. They're always at the surface with the sextant.
Yeah, check it out, ball believers. You've got a plate on top of your ball model in this depiction. What's with the plate on top of the ball? And what's that? You say we actually only measure the plate, and depictorially you say there's a second plate that goes through the middle of the ball. So there's 2 plates in your ball world. What's with the plates stuck on top? Surely you just measure it as a ball if it was a ball. You wouldn't stick a plate on top of it.
Correct. And then when you look at this picture here, from here to where the arrow ends, there's your 90. This is a top view, okay?
The top view being of a flat circle.
Yes, but over here, look at the trickster. It needs to be over here. They don't do it.
I just want to state, because I messed it up the first time. I just feel that it's important. That for 6 or 7 years now, there's been a claim about angles to Polaris, right? Now, it's debunked by elevation angles for a start. That's number one. So then it's debunked by nautical miles, which are flat Earth miles. But I just want to state that you can see Polaris past the equator, and the reason you can is due to celestial refraction. They hijacked celestial refraction and started calling it 7/6R. That's what they've done for 7 years. It was never 7/6R. It was always celestial refraction. No, and they don't have R to have 7/6R. Black Swan.
Right on.
In the 5,400, what they're categorically stating there is that every degree of star change is attributable to the angle of rotation. The further away from it you are, the further you're tilted away from it. So that the relationship of angular star change is only Earth curvature. Now, when we go to Polaris and we demonstrate, and we go to that 90, you cannot see the top. You see, you can't see its position. So that to me demonstrates it's again a full disproof that this 90 degrees is the absolute limit of your vision, and that's been really generous, I think. So to go past that, as Brian's saying, demonstrates that it's not a function of Earth curvature.
True. Now, let's go a little bit more here. So this right here, this plane, the plate and the second plate, this plate here is right here, this straight line on top of the so-called sphere. And then this is supposedly the equator, another plate. But when you look at this, say the star is here, the observer's zenith is here. Here's a true 90 right there. Okay, well, this is flat. This is all flat. You can't get this angle unless you're measuring off of this flat. They even show you it's got to be from this line. You can't measure it from this part, this curve. Doesn't work. Angles don't work that way.
Further to that, go back. If you're working off this plate, yeah, and we've got the observer described as being at the very top of this ball on this plate that's being actually measured and utilised with 90 degree at the zenith position of the observer. There could be, very realistically, a second observer on a ship out here. Now he's going to perform the same measurement from his zenith position and triangulate with the star that just happens to be below the guy that we mentioned that's coincidentally depicted at the top of a sphere on a plate. So therefore, the guy who's doing the exact same triangulation with 90 degrees to his positions also debunking this sphere below, because he hasn't got the sphere below. There's just empty space below him when you depict it in this manner. But he's still going to do the exact same measurement and triangulate his position with 3 stars to a flat plane beneath where he's standing here. In other words, the only thing that works is if you keep all of the area that's being measured and triangulated upon flat for every single observer. Because only one can line up with the zenith position and presupposed centre of this Earth in this depiction. The guy who's standing on the edge of the plate, teeter-toppering the top of the sphere Earth we don't have, he's also going to be capable of making the same measurement without having this sphere underneath lining up with him.
Good point. They have one, of course, in a image of a sphere, but this is what you're... anyone on this circle...
Doesn't work. They don't have 90 degrees to their zenith. This doesn't work. Yeah, they don't have 90 degrees to the zenith positions of these stars. This isn't triangulatable.
No, and that's why Adam says it's a perversion. It's a conflation of their nonsense mixed with some things where they say, like over here, the one we read, that a triangle is equal to 180. How come you can't work on a curved surface and have a triangle be 180? No.
So this is a great deception. How does this get past the intelligent?
I can tell you. They hide it in the language. Like words like tangent plane, you know, it's obviously moron, but they use it as if it's reality.
I'd like to bring to everyone's attention that if you are sighting a star at the horizon and it's 54 nautical miles away, that's just a radius. It's really 10,800 miles of flat.
Wow.
Okay, on that subject, Neil, because you asked, and it's a nice segue. How do they hide it in the language? You personally described people who would justify, a couple of days ago, in fact, how atmosphere is just what we say. Right? Do you remember saying that to us?
Yes, I do. I know where you're going.
Right. Well, without realising it, you've succumbed to a magic trick. So much so that you're not even willing to look at the etymology of the word or the breakdown of its contents as a word. Why? Well, because that's just the word we use. We just say the air's sphere-shaped. That's just what we say. We just say it's sphere-shaped, so therefore it is. And I've said it since I was a little kid. It's always been called that. It's always been known as being a sphere-shaped air. Atmosphere. So when someone comes to justify it in their description of how they're going to measure 90 degrees on a flat plane, and they've already got all these prerequisite conditions that they've got to meet, they'll, in some way, shape or form, try and mathematically justify it in the way that they understand it should work. Now, when there's contradictions, like we're showing here with the 25% of the sphere Earth surface blocking the view of the star that they've got an infinite distance away, when you're measuring it on a flat plane to begin with and you haven't got a geometric horizon, no one's going to be there over their shoulder tapping them and going, hello, the horizon's not a physical limitation to your view. And if you were to do this, you'd have an obstruction of the sphere Earth on your tangent plane, wouldn't you? It wouldn't work anymore. The tangent plane that you're drawing out's too big. Yeah, it doesn't make sense anymore. But because no one's tapping them on the shoulder, and they're only trying to make it make sense with the linguistic programming that they're using in their own everyday life, they're going to try and square the circle. And that's where we see the errors, some of them glaring. Because somebody at some stage has tried to square this circle, and that's what we see written down. And somebody along the line has looked at it and gone, yeah, that makes sense, probably because they don't understand it themselves or don't see the contradiction.
So John's right. They're hiding it in the language.
Sorry, John,
Just that
refracting curvature. Is John there?
Yeah. I was going to say that a tangent plane is an oxymoron, just like atmosphere.
Well, the question I have for you is, as a bowler, because I've asked this question in the past to the bowlers, and I never got an answer. As a bowler, when you were a bowler, how big could a tangent plane be? What was its limits?
1.22 times the observer's height in feet, I think.
Thank you.
No, that's incorrect. You're talking at cross purposes. The question Brian's asking you, as a glober, even though you're not, former glober, is how big can the tangent plane be? Not where would the tangent point be situated. So your answer was where the tangent point was situated. The answer to Brian's question in actuality is your first address. It's an oxymoron. How big a flat plane can you have on a sphere? You can't!
Oh, yeah. Right. Yeah, I guess I even fell for the language trick, but it's what they do.
I think if I just add to that, you said how does it get past people? It's because what's written mathematically, if you assume the ball, and this is what they show, it's all mathematically correct. Okay, it is a way of transposing it. It does require you to have R and the relationship between R and the circumference. Yeah, but all that's admitted in there. Now, if you've got no issue with somebody giving you R, which a standard normie won't have, then you accept it, because where you question it is the mathematics correct? Are they making the right geometric assumptions to transfer that angle to this angle? Yes, all that does make sense. But because you accept atmosphere as a word and radius and the Earth's a ball, you don't question the bit that means it's bunkum, if you see what I mean, which is what I had to
Okay,
get
Adam, this brings us to the beginning of the show and the pre-show then. So if you were in a position, you personally were in a position where you understood, like John often details, that you cannot measure R, and you are still of a fundy sphere-believing ilk, how do you square this circle? And if you
You gotta
can't...
beat down their doors.
Hold on, I'm getting to Charles. He's our resident globe Earth mathematician running under the name Flat Earth Math because he's an expert in this particular arena's subject's mathematics, according to his own namesake. Yet, what did he do when it came to this particular problem? He's got a tangent plane and a elevation angle off a curved adjacent, and he's got an R value question. Those are the only two things I asked him about. I only covered one of them because we didn't get past his lie about needing R. Now, as Adam's pointing out, it's fundamentally required in this explanation. There it is, it's disclosed. Now, if you don't realise that being given an R value that we've debunked and you can't measure, if you don't know that, then you're not going to go, oh, well, that's a problem. You're just going to go, okay, because I already know we've got sphere-shaped air and the Earth's a globe. Therefore, I'll obviously accept this begging the question fallacy at an R value that I'm going to use to engineer in the mathematics to make it work on a flat plane when I'm measuring 90-degree angles to flat surfaces. So that while Adam might say the mathematics works, it requires R. And we've debunked R. Therefore, the resident globe Earth mathematician Charles had to lie about his requirement of R. Now, in this particular instance, he absolutely requires R, as he will in every instance that you assume a sphere has got something to do with the mathematics of actually measuring the flat plane we live on. You'll need R for that, as I pointed out to him when I called him a liar. Now, Adam's here pointing out the same. Now, just coincidentally, the tail-on question, if I'd have actually ever got to an R measurement and how it was acquired, not that they can, would have been how do you get the elevation angle off a curved adjacent, which you can't. But it's explained with a begging the question fallacy of R that they now must lie about needing. Like the rotational value and the Coriolis deflection we don't see, they'll lie about needing to see it. They'll lie about the very claim in the first instance. That's that you're on a sphere with an R value, and you'll need that R value to make that claim. And we've debunked it.
Yeah, but then he says you don't need R.
Well, you do.
I'll read it here.
Back to Adam.
This was what was nice about what 10th had found. So other than finding the nautical miles bit, as we say later on, it says the sum of the angles on a straight line is equal to 180. So angle OXC is equal to HO plus P. The horizon AB being tangent to the Earth at O is perpendicular to OC, a radius of the Earth. You see, that's it, you're done. So to use, if you're going to put the curvature onto the surface, you have to have this methodology to use celestial navigation to transpose the data from the flat baseline, to use the same data and pervert it in this way. If you're going to make your curve the surface, this is what you have to do. You have to have R. You have to have the relationship, the size of R, so that you have the transcription of R across the circumference. So each degree is worth, well, in this case, it's one statute mile would be 0.01428 something degrees, you see. So you've got to have R to define the angular relationship for you to then transpose it on a curvy surface. That's not how celestial navigation is done.
So, does it now make sense why I constantly ask for an R measurement from all of these fundies, and why you'll get to 100 repetitions of it with someone like Katz without them giving it you, or 20 renditions to someone like liar Charles Flat Earth Math, with him denying his requirement for it only to chant it out towards the end of the show at 39.59 miles? Right? They absolutely require this value, and without it, none of their claim works anymore. That's why we've won. We declared it in 2020. It's the end of the claim. You must have R to claim you're on a sphere. We're not, but to make the claim, which we can debunk thereafter even if you had R, which you don't because you can't measure it. You'd be able to if you were on a sphere. It's just that simple. You tell us how you'd be able to measure it by way of Al-Biruni's dip measurement. Well, that's your geometric horizon we've debunked right there. That's where you got R. So when I ask a liar like Charles where he measures it, he'll deny needing it now, when there it is in black and white. If you're going to navigate and presuppose the Earth's a sphere, you'll need R, and we've debunked it. Share your pain.
This is a great presentation, by the way. Good job, man.
As you notice in this picture here, I'm going to make it bigger, actually.
Someone from the chat's just asked, what's R? R is Earth radius, the distance from the outside edge to the centre, marked in this diagram as O, and now I can't see it. It was bigger a second ago. Can you make it large again?
Yeah.
OC is the R value. That line is the outside edge of this circle depicting the sphere Earth, and the C is the centre. That's the radius value. You'll need that to make this claim, as you'll need it to make any sphere claim, and anybody who's going to have to lie about not needing it would realise we've debunked it. Otherwise, you wouldn't need to lie about having a measurement for it. You'd just say Al-Biruni measured it at the horizon, which we've debunked as a geometric sphere edge. Right, Rufy? You're paying attention? You're keeping up? Is someone letting Rufy know all this? Are you writing this down?
R is the most critical part of your ball if you're a believer in that. Are you kidding me?
It always has been. From Mick West admitting that he needs to presuppose it and is begging the question, that would be his R value. Proof of nothing because they haven't got it anymore. Perspective hijacking, Muppet Vision based. Curve calculator. It was always about R.
Well, it's a theoretical construct that doesn't
Morning,
exist.
fellas.
Hey, Chocolate.
Hey, Choco.
That's correct.
So, Nathan, let's finish. Sorry, I had to clear my throat. Let's finish up this part here. So if we read the arc on the surface subtended by the angle OCX. OCX. What's the angle? OCX, not OCS. See a straight line here out there in space? That doesn't exist on Earth with a sextant. That only exists in this drawing because you can't use a sextant on this ball. OCX. What the heck? Shouldn't it be OCS? Isn't this the GP? Why is the GP in space? Thus, the distance from the observer's position to the subpoint of the body, or OS, equals 90.
So why haven't they drawn it on this diagram? Oh, because it would make it really obvious that it doesn't work.
Right.
Hey, Nathan, how are you?
Hello, Bob. How you doing?
Hey, I've got a sextant challenge for you in the timeout chat. Can any of you tell me my position? Can any of you tell me my position from those two sites? I solved it in less than 5 minutes. So you've got all your sextant geniuses in there right now. Go ahead and tell me where that position is.
Why? What will it serve? Hold on. I don't mind to challenge. Will it prove a ball?
It'll prove that celestial navigation, which is based on spherical trigonometry, works. So go ahead and solve it.
Hold on. Your claim is that if we do this challenge, it will prove that the trig being used is spherical, correct? You seem hesitant to just confirm the thing you've said 20 seconds ago.
Nathan, you can either solve the problem or you can't.
Hello.
Go right ahead and do it. Give me a position.
Hello.
Latitude, longitude.
Hello. Clarifying your claim. Seem a bit hesitant to just clarify the thing you said 25 seconds ago. So you're saying that in order to solve this problem, it will require spherical trig, therefore proving a sphere if they do the challenge or I do the challenge. Is that what you're saying, yes or no? It's what you said about 40 seconds ago.
Go ahead and give me the latitude and longitude.
No, go ahead.
Why don't you answer?
Sorry, what is your malfunction? Yes, I will do that. As soon as you confirm what you have said about a minute ago, and we are stepping further away by you demanding that we do this, regardless of the clarification, it will prove a sphere by your declaration that it will require spherical trig to do it. Is that correct? You stated that about a minute ago. Are you denying it now or not?
It works, Nathan. But you're more than welcome to use flat Earth trig to do it.
More than welcome. Sorry, which will we need to use? Okay. Now we've got a bit. Now we've got a bit further. Now we've got a bit further. We're welcome to use flat Earth trig, but which one works? Does it work using spherical triangles, or does it work with normal? You seem to be interrupting me before I get to the end of my question to clarify your challenge. Are you scared of us clarifying your challenge? Is it just the case that you lay down the challenge, we must do it, and there's no clarification to what it'll prove in between? We're just clarifying what you think it'll prove. You're saying we're welcome to use flat Earth trig. Which one will actually get you a result, though? Will we have to use spherical trig to get the right result, Bob?
Nathan, It's going to demonstrate whether or not you can actually read a sextant.
Hear that
and use a
quiver in
sextant.
his voice? That's the sound of a man that knows he's fucked. That little quiver in his voice. Did you hear it, ladies and gentlemen?
Nathan, go right ahead and just demonstrate that you...
That's a man scared of me. I know I make you shit your pants, Bob. I'm going to ask a third time, and you can either run or clarify that which you have already claimed. That we will require spherical trig to do this. Will we or won't we?
Absolutely.
Okay, so you believe that the triangle we will be acquiring the GP of the star to will be done off a curved adjacent then? You seem to be interrupting me before the end of my question. Again, I'll repeat it. So, when measuring... He's interrupting me for a second time. At the start of the question rather than the end this time. I'll try a third time. He seems very scared. That's the fourth interruption. Obviously terrified of me repeating the question, which is to acquire the GP of the star. We will be doing it with a curved adjacent then, won't we, Bob?
What adjacent?
The one that measures along the ground, the baseline to the GP. That's going to be a curved line, isn't it? Spherical, right? On a spherical surface, spherical trig, curved adjacent. Right, Bob?
You have to have a triangle to have an adjacent.
Sorry, a triangle or a spherical, curved triangle. You said we're going to be using spherical trig.
There's no triangles.
So this baseline, which is it? Curved adjacent? Or...
There's no adjacent.
No adjacent?
No, there's no triangle.
That's a very high pitch no.
Have an adjacent.
No triangle? You said we could use the flat... Sorry, a moment ago we could use flat earth trig. Now there's no triangle to use. You seem confused.
I'm not confused.
So there is a triangle, and that triangle's got a right angle. It's a flat baseline. But I'm asking you, who says it can be done with spherical trig, if it can actually be done with a curved adjacent.
There's no adjacent.
No adjacent? So when you said we can do it with flat earth trig, what did you mean precisely? Because you're now saying there's no adjacent.
Of course there's not an adjacent. You're just measuring it.
There's no adjacent. Just one more time. Let's hear it from Bob the Science Guy. There is no adjacent when measuring an angle.
No, there's no adjacent.
There's no adjacent when measuring an angle.
Nope, got to have a triangle for that.
A triangle? Right.
Yeah, you have to have a triangle to have an adjacent and an opposite. We're just measuring angular distance. There's no adjacent.
Angular distance? Well, you'll have to minus that from 90 to get it onto the ground to travel the distance.
No, you're measuring the angular distance between a star and a point on the horizon.
A point on the horizon?
All right, are you going to do it?
Sorry, the point on the horizon. Sorry, Bob, stop. I've got about 10 quotes of you saying the horizon's not needed on QE's channel. It was trimmed out by YouTube also. Shout out to you.
Go ahead.
Saying the
go ahead.
There's he chanting through me. Why is he chanting through me? I don't get it. What's wrong? Why is he chanting through me? I'm clarifying that you specifically on this show told us you don't need the horizon. What's going on?
He said he doesn't need a triangle.
I know.
But then he said he uses spherical trig. Hey, Bob, define trigonometry.
I'll wait for you to solve it, Nathan.
Define trigonometry, Bob.
We're clarifying what this proves and whether or not you can actually do it with spherical trig when we're measuring flat baselines, and it doesn't have a curved adjacent. When I said that, you said we don't have an adjacent. Then you went on to deny we even need a triangle.
Yeah, there's no triangle.
I'd like to know.
Now, you can. What it proves is that you can or can't solve it. So have at it.
There's no triangle, but we're using trig. Define trigonometry, Bob.
I can solve this.
Sorry, you've said there's no triangle. Bob, you've told me no adjacent, no triangle. What's trig?
Correct. Have at it.
So what's trig? For the audience's benefit, this dumbfounded silence is what you get when you become a fundamentalist religious zealot chanting about measuring angles on a curved surface. You start denying that you're doing triangulation, or that you even need triangles, or that there's even adjacent that you need at all. That's what you get to.
It's trilateration.
Do you realise how stupid you sound? Do you realise how stupid you sound?
Define trigonometry.
I still sound smarter than you, Nathan.
Define trigonometry, you dumbass muppet.
Sextants don't use trilateration.
Define trigonometry.
You want to phone a friend, Nathan? Maybe get 10th
phone a
AM in,
friend.
Or see if Brian's live.
Phone a friend. You come in here.
Go ahead and
you
solve
say
it.
spherical trigonometry. You don't know what it is, right? You said you don't need a triangle, but you're using spherical trig. Define trigonometry. You're a fucking moron. What's a circle?
Seriously, Bob, you've laid out a challenge, but when we come to clarify how it will prove for sphere Earth, you said we could either use flat Earth trig or we could use spherical trig. But then you've gone on to deny triangles. I don't get the... I seriously don't get the mentality that would do this. It's humiliating for you.
Hey, I've got 2 star readings right there that I was able to find my position.
Hold on, QE. Hold on, QE. Just butt out just 1 second. I want to know, seriously, what has led you to do this, Bob? You've come in and denied the need for...
Have you ever tried to use one?
Sorry, is this going to be an ad hoc? No, I've never used a sextant. But I understand that you're going to need triangles. The thing you've denied I'm asking you about. You've launched into an ad hominem attack on me.
I await your determination of your position with bated breath.
Sorry, Bob.
Hey, asswipe. Just define trigonometry.
You denied the need for triangles. While we were in reasonable discussion, Bob, you were like, yeah, you can do it with flat Earth trig. Oh, you can you? All right. Let's see if we can do it with sphere Earth trig. Now we're into denying triangles, and somebody from the panel, QE in this instance, as in his very reasonable way, asked you to just define trig. You're saying either flat Earth trig or spherical trig. So, obviously, given that those are the only 2 choices you've laid down here for us to fulfil your challenge, it seems reasonable that given you've denied that there's a need for a triangle somewhere along this, why you do that, I don't know. It's absolutely insane. But that's what you've done. Now I want you to answer the question on the table. What's trig then? Because I'm confused.
Just let me know what the position is when you
so it's just the demand for us to fulfil your fucking demand, is it, Bob? Do you think we're subservient to you, Bob? That you're going to come here and lay down some demand that we're going to fulfil because you've just laid it down to us? Without clarifying like a reasonable man would, what will actually be fulfilled in doing so? You're not going to be a reasonable man and do that with us? Because we're just asking you, given that you've given us 2 choices, spherical trig and flat Earth trig, to do this with, and you're not going to get into the wrangle-dangle of how spherical trig won't be able to do this with the flat baseline. You can't get an elevation angle from a curved adjacent. You're not going to get into that wrangle-dangle, but now you won't even define trig. You're just going to deny triangles are needed and then leave it at that and demand that we carry on. Well, okay, how are we going to do that without triangles, Bob? Do you want to define what trig is? The 2 different trigs. If we're not going to need triangles, can you define what that means?
Busted! Numpty dipshit! You're a retard! Unbelievable, folks.
I have a pertinent question for Bob about this.
Well, I want to clarify the challenge, Brian. He said, either flat Earth trig or spherical trig, but then said we don't need triangles. He's still on the panel. I've asked him about 5 times. Hopefully QE will stop screaming at him. But I want to know the answer. What to do then, Bob, without triangles?
My question...
Standard celestial navigation techniques. Feel free to solve it.
And what are they? Triangulation, per se?
I did.
Triangulation, right?
Nope.
Well, what's the other
option? Then why do we need trig?
What's the other option?
Trilateration.
Why do we need trig? Sorry, Nathan.
It's okay.
Sorry.
Trilateration for the sextant, you say?
Chaff and redirect.
Indeed.
Chaff and redirect. Get him back, Nathan.
Bob, are we using
so go ahead and give me a position, gentlemen.
I need to know how we're going to do that. Okay, look, I still need to know clarified from Bob how we can do that. You say either flat Earth trig or spherical trig. Those were the options you gave me, Bob. Right?
You can do it any way you want.
Those were the options you gave me, though, weren't they, Bob?
You can use whatever means you wish, so long as you give me the correct position, which I found with no problem.
Okay, I'd like to do it.
So show me.
Okay. I'd like to do it with the vision of being on a sphere. Okay? I've got a question, though. Right? When I measure my elevation angle, How do I do that from a curved ground beneath my feet?
You don't need to. It's already been provided for you.
Sorry, no. When you say it's already been provided, how so?
It's right in the post. It's right there.
What is?
Go ahead and have a look. Have you
Just
you
tell
pulled it up?
me. Just tell me. Play along. What's the deal? Is it a
Have
secret?
you pulled it up?
Ugh.
Have you pulled it up,
What's
Nathan?
been given to me? Because at the moment it hasn't, has it? Because you haven't given it me. You're telling me to go get it.
Yeah,
So
I
no, I'm not going to go get it.
it's
You
right-
can
I
give it me or
posted
you
it in
can't.
Maine.
Either you give it me or you don't. It's up to you.
Kick
I
him
posted
out.
it for you in Maine. The whole thing.
Just tell me what precisely has already been worked out for me. Is it Earth being a sphere with an R value?
Yep.
Nathan, it's right there.
Just tell me.
You can either use it or don't.
Use what?
Use the site data that I provided for you.
What
very
site
clearly.
data?
It's written down.
Oh, what data specifically?
The site data is right in timeout chat. So
Okay, and it proves we're on a sphere,
Harp
does it?
Harp will post it for you.
Okay, and it proves we're on a sphere, does it?
Proves I know how to use a sextant and you
Does
don't.
it prove we're on a sphere?
I don't know. What
Well,
do you
then
think?
why are we doing this? You are the one making
To
this claim,
demonstrate
and
whether
you
or not you
shut
can
up.
actually use a
I'm
sextant, and
talking.
I say you can't.
Shh. I'm talking, Bob. Sorry, this
Well,
is your
just get
claim.
on
I've
with
just
it.
asked you.
I'll
Hello.
be monitoring. You let me know.
You're going to
when
run
you
away? Well, because I'm wanting to reply to you. Is that what's going to happen, coward? Okay, go on then.
Yeah, but he's gone.
No worries. Yeah, so I asked him, and what's the point summarising if he's just going to run like a coward?
A dumb
Ask
fuck
him the
coward.
question. Nathan, there's a couple of things he said there, and I wanted to ask him the question: is he using the Earth's surface within his claim? Because it sounds
Wait
like
a
he's not even
second.
using the Earth's surface.
Wait a second. Wait a second. Go back. He said we could use either spherical treg, or flat
Yeah,
Earth
but that's not the.
treg. And then he said we're not using triangles. Why
I know,
go?
but
Why
that's
go
why I
anywhere
wanted to
else?
ask him. Because that's why I wanted to ask him what he's actually doing, because he may not be using the surface at all. So that means he's not using a triangle.
Hang on, guys. Hang on.
He
This
just-
So then he
guy's,
can't use treg.
this guy is such a fool. Nathan, if you give me time to
I
summarize.
know.
Okay.
That's my point.
Let's just
Okay.
get
And
it
he
in
also
order.
said
Hold
one
on.
second, he
Everyone
also
chill out for a second.
claimed
Brian.
triangulation.
Hello,
That's not
everyone. Right. QE, get everything out of your system. Then Brian, then 10th. QE, go.
It's over. The numpty dipshit, sack sniffing cretin. It's over. When he came in and said you can use flat Earth trig or spherical trig, and then in the next breath said we're not using triangles, that's a paradox. He doesn't know what trigonometry is. Get it?
Correct.
It's over.
Okay.
What trick without triangles?
What's
You can join the end of the
I'm not
queue,
telling you.
Arwin. Right, Brian next.
Thank you, Nathan. Yes, and that's exactly why he said that. That's why I wanted to ask him about, is he using the surface of Earth? Because if he's using a sextant, right, it means he should be using the surface. Otherwise, he's just taking two mathematical lines, right, an angle. Yes, he is using a triangle to two celestial objects and avoiding the surface.
No, he's using a
altogether.
triangle.
Yes, he
Yeah.
is. But that's why I wanted to ask him if he's using the surface, because our claim is the surface. I want to bring it back to our claim. Our claim is the surface measurement. That was my point.
Well,
and when he said
he doesn't know what trig is.
Please.
That's over.
Yeah, I understand
Okay,
that.
QE.
But
Just
leave
let
me
Brian get to
finish.
the end of this point. Right,
Yeah,
stop you both.
please.
Just hold on, Brian. Let's stop you both. I know you're right, QE. You're right. You are so right. But Brian's got an ancillary point, and I'm going to shout out a super chat in this break. So, think outside the container, says Nathan, quote, does it prove we live on a sphere, question mark, end quote. Bob, quote, I don't know, end quote. Go ahead,
that was
Brian.
epic.
Okay, thanks, Nathan. Okay, why I wanted to know if he's using the surface, because if he's not, it means he's moving away from our actual claim, which is a straight line horizontal distance along the surface of Earth. And secondly, he claimed trilateration, which are straight lines. So what's he talking about? If he's taking an angle, right, a triangle, I get a tangent or QE is 100% correct about the trigonometry. But that's why I jumped on the surface thing. Because what he said about two lights in the sky and an angles to them, right? But he's avoiding the surface from the sounds of it. That's why I wanted to point that out. And same trilateration is straight line distances. So what's he talking about?
I'm glad you've summarised it, because I was a millisecond away from doing exactly the same, and QE just went chaff and redirect in the background, and I went, yeah, it is, isn't it? Why am I so tempted to latch onto this trilateration claim? It still needs qualifying though, so I'm glad you have, Brian. Thank you. 10th, go ahead.
I'd like to qualify this further.
Okay, you can join the queue as well then. Was that Harp? Who was that?
No, he was telling you that I was going to find it for you. You know, I wasn't going to, but then I went ahead and did. So, and then also Citation Police did also.
Oh,
so
okay.
they're in the main chat.
Yeah, so
thank you very much.
I got some questions about it.
We'll have to get to it in the after show citation. I'm just going to get the last thoughts from 10th. Alwyn's joined the end of the queue before the live show, but we're ticking away. Go ahead.
Okay. All right. Bob never cites anything. Bob cites his deranged mind. That's it. He never shows anything. We started with the air navigation, volume 1, and I have both of them, volume 2. But this one, Department of the Air Force. And we went through what they say is needed. They say, what? 90 is needed. They say a triangle must equal 180. We're showing from the source how to do celestial navigation. Bob comes in with his deranged brain cells and says that the Air Force and this manual that has served our pilots and navigation on planes well is wrong. That's what he's doing. Now, if you go to Master B, Nathan, I have the quote by Harold Jacobi there. If you could please go there. It's the last 2 slides. This is a dean of astronomy, Columbia University, with a book that is so good that they put it on one of those lists that said, we got to keep this book going. And in here, in the part that I've underlined, it says, this height of the sun or of any star in the sky is called its altitude. And so altitude is always an angle to be measured in degrees of minutes. The point directly overhead is the zenith. The angle between lines drawn to horizon and the zenith is 90 degrees, or a right angle. This Bob is so lost. I can't even believe he comes in here with no citations, no references, nothing, quotes himself, and then goes against everything his side has put in print. A sextant is an angle measuring device.
Yeah, at least it's come in. Good on you, Bob. Get my props.
I mean,
at least you got some balls, Bob.
Is it balls?
Yeah,
is that what it is?
I would imagine it's terrifying here, right? I can empathise with their side of this argument, and I've got props for Bob, right? It's scary coming here. So for Bob to just brush it off, come in, put his stuff down, make his demands that we should fulfil his challenge, not answer any questions, obfuscate and then run away, that is more than most of them are capable of. That deserves some props. I don't care if you don't like it. Props, Bob.
I agree.
I don't. I think he's here for another reason.
It's previous fear belief.
No, I know, yes, of course, but he can't even do that because he's not even following the books that are out there that tell you how to do celestial navigation. He's not even doing celestial. It's so stupid. He's stupid.
Well, he's trying to reinvent a new form of triangulation that doesn't use triangles.
No, he's not. He's too stupid to realize he's a numpty dipshit. Hey, are you going to be cutting that out today?
One doesn't exclude the other.
And did you have anything else to? Yeah, I probably will, QE. I'm just going to read out this super chat from Fibrotes. Thank you very much, Fibrotes, for the super chat. It says, how can Bob face his subscribers after what happens each and every time he comes here? I don't know. I don't concern myself with Bob how he copes with it. But as I said earlier, I'm a bit lost for words because I'm pleased he's come in. he's giving us the opportunity to at least address some of his stuff with obfuscation attached and, just like I said earlier, lots of demands that we just do his challenge. Like, oh, well, what's it going to prove? Well, I asked him, does it prove a globe? I don't know, was his answer. So what can you do with that?
If Bob was in the celestial navigation course, he'd be kicked out the first day for insubordination.
Right. With that, I'm going to say, if you are watching this on either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley Premiering streams, stay tuned, as there will be an after show to follow. Unfortunately, if you are watching this live, this is where we bid you farewell. So a huge, massive, enormous thank you to all of you who smashed the super chat, liked, commented, shared, subscribed, and all that good stuff. I've been Nathan Oakley. Stay tuned if you're watching on a Premiering stream, and I'll see you all in the next video.
What a lovely day!